Well, now we've been going through more of your opinions and questions indeed that you have put on our Twitter account, that is at League Sunday RTE. This week we have Donal Óg Cusack, former Cork goalkeeper and All-Star and All-Ireland winner, of course, to answer your questions, specifically of course on hurling and indeed on goalkeeping, Donal, because the first question we have here from Aoife Hart and David Brown is: what are your thoughts on the Nash free, as they call it? This, of course, is the 20-metre free, which is very much in the news again this weekend, of course, and has been so controversial since last year's All-Ireland.
Indeed, Michael. I think the first thing that should be said about the Anthony Nash free is that it's a fantastic skill. The man has mastered what is a very difficult thing to do, and it was one of the skills that lit up the 2013 championship, which is one of the best championships that we've seen in years. But I think you also need to look at it from the point of view of that there's a glaring anomaly exists within the rules, in that the rules state that there needs to be 20 metres between the striker and the goalkeeper. And to be honest, when the association looks at this, they need to think of the defenders and the goalkeeper, and it's not necessarily Anthony Nash being the striker, it could be any striker. And last year what we saw in the All-Ireland final was a situation whereby the referee, this instance happened, I believe the referee didn't know what to do with the first penalty that was taken, and then for the next penalty he actually changed the way he wanted to implement the rules, and he told the goalkeeper that he had to stay on the line. Now, if you're a goalkeeper in this year's championship and you're defending a penalty that's been taken like that, you're going to be told to stay on the line, whereas the person who's taking the penalty can advance beyond it. Your obvious argument is going to be, you're penalising me for breaking the rules, yet you're not penalising the guy who's breaking it and the guy who's actually taking the penalty.
As we know, Donal, this weekend the GA have now announced that they're putting forward a proposal for next year to Congress, and the motion being that the 20-metre free should be taken from the 20-metre line. I would have thought that was self-evident.
Yeah, you'd imagine it is, and it's a pity that, look, we had this situation in the All-Ireland final, and it's tough to blame the referees because hurling is one of the most free-flowing games in the world, and we should always protect that, and it's hard to get everything right. And there wasn't too many people made a big deal out of the man changing the rules during the All-Ireland final. But post it, the responsibility on the association is to deal with it, and it's disappointing. Realistically, what you've seen over the last number of months really has been a form of clientele politics at play, where from the usual suspects acting under the cover of the GA to play out, small town politics, and these people will be the first to run for cover if we see not alone a player at inter-county level, but a player in a juvenile game or a club game getting hurt.
All right, Donal, well, that's one we're going to obviously hear more about, as we've been hearing a lot about over the last couple of months. I do want to move on because I want to put another question to you, and this is about Clare, who we're seeing here today in Ennis against Galway, of course, in the league. Alan Power puts the question: are Clare the new hurling superpower, or indeed, if they're not at the moment, can they be over the next couple of years?
Yeah, well, it's a tough thing. Clare, after coming, they won a fantastic All-Ireland last year, playing a fantastic brand of hurling, and a couple of points have to be made. They come with a style of player and a style of system from a manager that's after putting it up to everybody else now in the game to see can you come and match that. Defending an All-Ireland title in hurling is a tough thing to do. In fact, there's only 5 counties in the history of the game that have done that. And outside of the big three of Cork, Kilkenny and Tipperary, it's been Galway and Wexford who've done it on one occasion each. And in fact, the big three have failed to do that on more occasions than they've actually been successful. And we saw the great Clare team of the second half of the 90s, they failed to put back-to-back titles in place. So it's early days to start talking about the emergence of a new superpower. As I said, I was actually talking to my forward down in Clyne a couple of weeks ago about this Clare team and the way they were playing, and he made a couple of points to me that were hard to argue with. And he made the point that the style of hurling that they have, which is all about fleetness of foot and wrist and thought, is really the way the game should be played, and it's hard to argue against that. They really are a joy to watch. And secondly, the other point he made to me was that what they're proving is that you don't have to be a big man to play hurling once the rules are implemented correctly by the referee. And I think that's an important thing, even from a bigger picture for our games going forward and for our association going forward.
Okay, thanks for that question. Now, Garage O'Curry, his question is, what specific areas, this in fact is about goalkeepers now, and you'll be able to help him on this one, what specific areas should goalkeepers work on when they are training to improve their game?
Well, if the penalty rule isn't dealt with, ducking maybe is probably the first thing that they'll have to be conscious of.
This is the weird thing about it. Very few hurling goalkeepers duck, which I can never understand.
Well, on a serious level, look, for goalkeeping, Michael, I always thought that it was, people associate a hurling goalkeeper with maybe diving saves and making spectacular saves, but you need to be a good hurler to be in goals and to be a top goalkeeper, I always feel. So you can't spend enough time in the ball alley getting your touch right, getting your handling right, and getting your eye right. And I'd always encourage coaches and young goalkeepers themselves to work on those aspects of the game first. And the spectacular saves will come and are important, obviously, for the game. And then the second most important part of goalkeeping for me is that a goalkeeper learns to be comfortable in there. It's a very pressurised position whereby mistakes are highlighted. There's a lot of pressure on you kids if they make a mistake, or even at the highest level, that it can lead to a goal and maybe cost you a game. And I'd always say that you need to practice your mindset and try and relax in there and understand that whilst it's great to aim for perfection, that not being perfect is okay, and if you do make a mistake, that to get back up on the horse as fast as you can, for want of a better description.
All right, well, that sounds like good advice. I hope that you're happy with that, Garrod. And one final one for you, and this one comes, Donal, from Conor Lawler, and he says, what are your thoughts on the dual player looking forward, like in 2014?
Yeah, well, I suppose in looking at it this year, the first thing I'd say is that isn't it a fantastic thing that we have players who are willing to play both codes and put themselves through all the trials and tribulations for that dream of playing in both codes for your club and county with it in the games that we play. The only thing I would say is that, and I've said this to close friends of mine who've gone down that route before and who are currently going down it, I think it's a bit of a romantic notion, really, and that I think that there is no doubt that you will not perform to the best of your ability or fulfill your potential in either of the sports when you're trying to serve two such demanding masters.
All right, Donal, listen, interesting thoughts there, and thank you very much indeed for your questions to Donal, and thanks to Donal Óg Cusack for answering them for you. I hope that you're happy with all of that. There will be more, as I said to you before, from our various analysts over the week, so do please watch out for that. And you can write to us or get in contact with us on @League Sunday RTE.